now we're going to talk about, or firstly, I think we're going to talk about where we are in terms of the progression of medieval times to the Middle Ages, because now we've just left Beowulf's time period, which we think to be around 700 AD to maybe at the latest 10 or 1000. But we know that that's when it was like recorded, right? The actual story could go way back further than that. Okay, so we have Beowulf's time period, like I said, 700 AD to 1000 AD. Okay, and the Middle Ages, which we are coming up on, all right, is approximately 1185 to 1435. Just to kind of give you context, Chaucer starts writing the Canterbury Tales in 1385, so kind of like closest to the middle, all right, of the Middle Ages. Middle Ages. So now we see this shift in language, right? What we would call Old English. Old English is honestly, it's what we see in Beowulf. It's like the illegible, very distant cousin of English, okay? So, for instance, when you all took out your Beowulf books and you tried to read the, I think, left page next to the English translation, it was probably, you can't make out a word. You can, I actually here and there, but it's like, it's very, very different, right? Whereas with Middle English, we really start to see, and we're able to, I think the normal person, the normal person who's not a medieval scholar can see that transition, that like similarity between our, what we call modern day English that starts up in the 1500s around Shakespeare's time, and Middle English, okay? So we have this marking here of that beginning of that period where Middle English starts to come in. Around 1066, we have the Norman Conquest, okay? We have some French people coming in and really marking that transition from Old English, pure straight up English, Old English, to Middle English, like I just said, okay? So when we have the Norman Conquest, we have William the Conqueror invading England, okay? So all these French folks come over and they have this kind of rural French dialect with Germanic influences. It's not the French that, Parisians speak. It's kind of this like low and down, dirty French, okay? So they take that and then it mixes with English. It's mixed with English to create what is known in England at the time as AngloNorman French, okay? And this type of French is only spoken by the monarchy and the upper class. So it is the language of the upper class. It's very fancy. And Latin is spoken in the church. And you'll see these things kind of pop up throughout the Canterbury Tales where certain characters will speak certain languages. And there's a lot of irony in that. The monarchy is just, and the upper class is supposed to speak French, and the church is Latin, right? And then the commoner, which we'll see here, that common person would speak in English. So you have this like language kind of distinction between classes and castes. So when we get this mixture of English and French, okay, that becomes Middle English. That's what we're seeing, that influence creep in Canterbury Tales. And Canterbury Tales is actually, it's written in Middle English to connote, Chaucer wrote for the everyday person. He didn't write in Latin. He didn't write in French. He wrote in English, and that is very symbolic because Chaucer wanted the Canterbury Tales to be enjoyed by everyone. And it is. Yeah, so that's what we have here for our transition between Old English to Middle English. I hope you enjoy.